What is going on, YouTube? Dad with a Bike coming at you, and hope you all have had a wonderful and Merry Christmas, and I hope it was safe. And I figured that we're going to take some time today to talk about how to tour. I know this is going to sound funny. How to tour on an Indian Scout bobber. But before we get into that, some administrative things get out of the way. If you have just stumbled across this channel because you read the title and said that sounds insane, and you're interested in these videos and you want to follow some of the other content I put together, do me a favor, hit that subscribe. And if you want to get notified when I do more, go ahead and do that notify as well. Make sure you give me a like. I do these uploads. Hold on. Anyway, I do these uploads, I don't know, once a week. Fix my mirrors. And usually they land kind of on a Sunday. But it is generally kind of when I get around to it, because I do this as a hobby. So anyway, stick around. We're going to talk about touring on a Indian Scout bobber. So it should be fun. Man, that is a awesome truck. We'll get upside along and, well, blah, blah, blah. We'll get alongside him. See if I can speak English in just a minute. Take a look at it. Yeah, that's nice. Old 54. It's pretty nice. So, touring on an Indian Scout bobber. Now, we're going to break this down into four, count of 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections. So we can kind of, I guess, work through this problem together and start from why to what the heck do you pack. So, number one, we're going to talk about why on earth would you want to tour on an Indian Scout bobber. And we'll talk about why I do it, and maybe why you want to do it too, if you're an Indian Scout bobber owner, or you're interested in never buying an Indian Scout bobber. Number two, we'll talk about for how long. Like, touring is kind of a broad word, so we'll talk about my experiences and how long I've done it, and or how far distance-wise. Number three, we're going to talk about some creature comforts, because there are some things you must do, or it just is not possible. And number four, we'll jump over to a video, and I will walk you through the bag that I pack and what I do to the bike, you know, from a packing perspective, to kind of get it ready. We won't go through my whole packing procedure, because I don't want to do that. But I'll at least show you the bag, and I'll walk you through some of the key things that I pack. So, let's jump right into it. All right, everybody. So let's talk about number one. Number one is why. Why on earth would you want to go touring on an Indian Scout bobber? I mean, there's a whole lot of negative to it, right? I mean, it doesn't have a big gas tank. It's not, you know, the most comfortable bike you can buy for long distance riding, but maybe it just so happens you are in the same position as I am, and it's the bike I have. It's the only one I have at the moment, and me going out and getting another bike just isn't something I'm interested in, primarily because I only go on long distance trips probably twice a year, and we'll talk about what I mean by long distance trips next. But you know, I only do it twice a year. Other than that, you know, it's me ripping around the hill country here in Texas, and just really enjoying the aspects of this bike that it really has to offer, which is how nimble it is. Now, it's funny because when I get out and I ride on these long distance rides with these guys, now I keep up just fine. And funny enough, you know, this thing gets 120, you know, miles, and then I go fill up. Most guys kind of want to stop and chat and whatever else anyway. And what I've come to learn and what I've come to realize is when you're riding with a group of guys, which I don't tour by myself or I don't go on long trips by myself, I don't, you know, just isn't enjoyable for me. So I go with a group of guys. You know, at that point in time, that trip, you know, really does come to be more about the journey than the destination. And I think that's kind of one of the things that, you know, I like is when I tour with people or when I go on long rides with people, this bike is a topic of conversation, and it's always in and around, man, is that comfortable? How you doing it? It works out pretty well. And the guys that I go riding with now on these longer rides, you know, they know me, they know the style that the kind of riding that I like to do. And it's fun because, you know, those guys all have baggers. You know, they've got road glides or street glides. A couple of them have Challengers. You know, when we start to get into really twisty technical roads, which we did when we went to Big Bend, you know, that's the case when, you know, I've gone out and did the Twisted Sisters here in Texas. It was the case when I went to Sturgis and we rode like Needles and all the great rides that are out there. I am way more nimble than they are. I can rip through those curves like nothing. So anyway, what they would end up doing is the group would just part to the side, wave me forward, and I would be gone. And I find that to be kind of fun. And I've figured out how to tour on this thing, and that's really why. You know, I'm not quite ready to step into the bagger world. You know, I don't want to do that yet. I don't do enough riding long distance to warrant that. So, you know, in the future, sure, you know, when I retire and my kids are out of school and all that other stuff, yeah, but not right now. So that's why, right? It's, for me, it is the bike I have, and it's the bike that I'll have for a while. So, why not figure it out? And we'll cover number 2 when we get out of whatever the hell this is. This traffic is stupid. So we'll be back in a second. Alrighty, y'all. So now let's talk about number 2. For how long? So I'll break this down to you guys. So I do not count my weekends really as out touring. So any given weekend, I'll end up going out and putting a couple 100 miles on the bike. But I'm not carrying any luggage. I'm just out enjoying a ride. So when I talk about for how long and I talk about touring, I'm talking about I got luggage on the bike, and I'm going somewhere for a few days. So some of what I've done on this bike, and I've only had this bike for a little over a year and some change. You know, and I've got, I don't know, 13,000 miles on it now. So I do ride it. And of that, you know, 13,000 miles or so, you know, we've been on some pretty fun trips. So if we go, you know, I've gone out, I went on a camping trip with it. I went to out western Texas and went out to Medina. And I did the Twisted Sisters for about 4 days. We went out and did a 4-day ride through hill country, focused on riding the Twisted Sisters. And, you know, on that ride, I think that when I got back, it was a total of 1,100 miles that was done on the bike. So, you know, a couple 100 miles out. Lots of riding there. I got to get over here. Lots of riding while we were there. And, you know, riding back. And then fast forward to this past summer, and I went to Sturgis. And that was a long ride. I was in Sturgis for about a week. You know, so the trip out there is from Austin is, you know, I think it's like 1,300 miles. and the you know, out there riding around was, you know, a few hundred more. And when I was out there riding around, I wasn't carrying any luggage, right? So it was going there and it was coming back. And then most recently, here in November, right, I did what was it? I don't know, almost 2,000 miles in total, riding down to Big Bend, riding around Big Bend, and riding back. So that's what I mean for how long. And would I ever think about taking this thing on a cross-country tour? I don't know. It had to be some pretty awesome dudes that I'm doing it with in order for me to even think about doing that. But in the future, you know, I'll be going on more trips next summer or next year. I'm already planning my hold on. I'm already planning next trip with a big group of guys. We're gonna go do Arkansas. We're gonna hit the Pig Trail. Probably do. There's a route out there called the Whole Hog, and that's gonna be another long trip. So that's what I'm talking about for how long. So yes, it isn't, you know, a couple hundred miles. I'm putting, you know, a couple thousand miles on this thing when we do these tours. So number three, that was two. Number three, are the creature comforts. And when I mean creature comforts, I mean so the ride does not suck. My bike is not stock. I've got, you know, modifications I've done to it to make it comfortable for me. You know, I've got a Memphis Shades fairing on the front. I have 8-inch handlebars. You know, I've got nice squishy grips. These are Vans Colt grips. I have a Saddlemen seat, and I have progressive 444s. So that's what I mean by creature comforts. The things that I do to this bike to make it so that I can actually ride it for long distances. And I'll be honest with you, with these changes that I've made to my bike, I can be on this thing all day long. Ain't no thing. So I've got that part tackled. So that really is the creature comforts for me anyway. Things that you need to do to your bike to make it comfortable. Now, interestingly enough, when you buy any other bike, like if you go spend a bunch of money on a bagger, you go spend a bunch of money on a touring bike, I can promise you that stock isn't what you want anyway. So when somebody says, well, why would you go and make all those changes to your bobber? You should just buy a touring bike. I could bet that if I bought a touring bike, I'd still be making changes to it. So it really doesn't matter. And the changes to this bike really aren't all that much from a cost perspective to make it, you know, really comfortable and enjoyable. So, yeah, you know, those are my creature comforts. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to walk through, we're going to flip over to a video here in a second where I walk through the bag I use, and maybe we'll cover all the bags that I have to kind of show you the options that I put in front of me when, you know, when I go ride. But I think I need to, no, I don't exit here. I'm running an errand, so I don't quite know where the hell I'm going. But anyway, we're going to flip over to that one, and we'll cover that video. We'll walk through what, you know, the bags I use, some of the stuff I always pack, and, you know, that's where we'll go to next. So, you know, we'll be back in just a second.
Hey everybody, so welcome back, and we're going to now cover part 4, which is what did I bring and what bags did I use or do I use when I go on these long trips. So let's break it down. We'll go over the key essentials, We're not going to talk about clothing and like that kind of stuff I packed, because I purposefully pack based on the essentials I need to bring. And then, of course, we'll talk about my bags, and I'll give you guys a quick dive through the bags that I use. So let's jump in. All right, everybody. So we are now looking at pretty much the bags that I use and my key essentials. Now, you're going to notice I don't have any tools laying anywhere, and that's because I've got a special spot for tools, and I think you're going to like it, and it's why I have fell in love with this bag. So let's talk about how I pack in the essentials. So, it's assumed you're going to take clothes. It's assumed you're going to take rain gear, and it's assumed that you'll manage your cold weather gear if you have to bring cold weather gear, or however you're packing for the trip based off of the seasons, the temperatures, and the weather you may ride through. Do your own research before you get on a ride, so you can make sure you bring the right stuff. So assuming that you've done that and you know the basics of what you need to pack from a weather perspective, let's jump into really what I worry about the most. So when I go on these trips, first and foremost, man, it is comfort. I have to be comfortable when I'm sleeping or when I'm camping. So my essentials are really built around that. So let's jump into those. So the very first thing that I am going to touch on is my sleeping pad. So this sleeping pad is about 20 bucks. I'll put a link in the description. I got it off of Amazon. It takes about 6 breaths to blow it up. It's really, really flat, but it is ridiculously comfortable. And, that to me is, everything. The next thing you've got here looks like a tarp, but it's not. This is actually a cot. So this and these pieces right here together, let me kind of zoom out a little bit, are what makes up my cot. So this is a compact cot, and it comes in its own bag, but I don't like packing it in a bag because I like to kind of manage and kind of decide how I'm going to pack the rods and the supports depending on what I need to fit in my bags. So this makes it a little easier. But it's a pretty simple cot, lightweight. I think it's maybe 2.5, 3 pounds, and I'll put a link to that on in my description as well. And then my favorite thing in the whole wide world is my tent. So that is a Lynx One from Alps Mountaineering, and it is a backpacking tent. This thing is ridiculously light and tiny. Now it is a one-man tent, so if you're gonna bring somebody with you, you're gonna get comfortable in there, or get cozy rather, because it's a small tent. It has a vestibule on the outside, so it lets me kind of store my gear. And again, I'll throw a link in the description on that. To me, that is my essentials. When I get to where I'm going, I need to be comfortable. Normally, I don't pack food and that kind of stuff because, we don't go out roughing it. I will always pack some snacks, that kind of a thing. But usually when we get to where we're going, it's a campsite or whatever else, we all jump on bikes and we go to the store, we go grab beverages, and then we come back to the camp. So we're not carrying all that craziness on the bikes with us. So that's why you don't see a lot of that other stuff. So let's jump from this stuff into the bags, because to me, bags are super important and they kind of help you keep all this stuff situated. And I'll tell you why I have 3 bags and how I use these 3 bags. So we'll be back in just a second. All right, everybody. So these are the 3 bags that I use. And we're going to go each of them kind of one by one. So we'll dive in. We'll go smallest to my biggest. And we'll talk through some specifications on why I use them pretty much on every long distance ride I go on. Okay, so this very first one that you see right there is the Builtwell XL7. And it's tagged as like a universal tool bag, but you can use it for all kinds of different things. They call it the XL7 because that's how Builtwell measures the capacity of their bags. So 7 means 7 cans of beer in it, or your favorite beverage will fit in there. And it's a pretty nice bag. So you notice it's got like all these different, it's got integrated MOLLE straps, or the MOLLE system kind of around it. You know, the zippers are of high quality. It's got really strong buckles on the front to kind of snap it closed. And it's that 1680 kind of ballistic polyester material that's made, so it's pretty dang tough. And it's really not all that big. It's like 11 inches wide or so it's not a big bag. But, you know, I use it specifically for things like camera equipment, electronics and stuff like that, so I'll put those in some bags and we'll throw them in there. And the great thing is when I get to where I'm going and I want to run out and go help grab some drinks or whatever, I can do that in there because it's got this nice little drain plug at the bottom, so if anything gets in there, and it's got 2 of them actually, any water gets in there, it drains out quite nice. And it's got a few other pockets in here. So I already got some stuff in that one and there as well. So this is a great little bag to carry some essentials that you kind of need to get access to. And usually where this guy fits is he'll fit kind of hanging off the back of my sissy bar. You know, you'll have to play with some of this stuff depending on how you want to pack. I've played with it a few different ways, and I think I've got it, you know, what works for me. But what works for me from a packing perspective or how I get it on my bike may not work for you. But we'll cover some basics, like how important it is to kind of, you know, pack this stuff correctly. But anyway, so this bag is an important bag. It comes with me every time. Like I said, it carries camera equipment, charging cables, you know, any little knick-knacky thing like that, I try to throw in here. So we'll toss him off to the side. And then we'll move over to the next bag. So this is the Saddlemen 1300 Tactical. So again, it's got the MOLLE system on there as well. It's made of the same type of 1680 material. This one does come with a rain cover. It's rain resistant, but not rain proof. You throw the cover on and you're bueno. Ain't no rain getting in there at all. And it's got some side pockets. It is expandable, so you can shrink it as well as expand it. The zipper's kind of here along the side do the job of cinching it or expanding it. It does come with a whole set of straps to kind of help you strap this down. I don't use those straps. I actually prefer rock straps to kind of strap stuff down to my bike or bags to other bags, but it's preference. So they do come with straps to kind of help you out, but I use rock straps. So inside, maybe you can tell, maybe you can't. Let's see if I can get a good angle here. Yeah. So it's got, you know, webbing pockets on the inside. So they try to do a pretty good job at keeping it such that it can organize well on the inside. It is not a big bag. It is only, I think, 21 cubic inches on the inside. So if you're going to pack clothes and that kind of stuff, this is a good bag for it. And I may not always take both of these bags, and we're going to get to that bag in a second. Sometimes if I'm going on a really short trip or just a couple days, I might take this. If I'm going on a trip where I need to pack like my camping gear and that kind of stuff, that bad boy's coming. And if I go for a long one, they both will come. And I'll show you kind of how I stack them accordingly when I put them on my bike. So that is this bag. So nice bag. I like this one. You can pick this bag up for about $100. That XL7 bag is, man, it ranges anywhere from 50 to 70. It depends on, you know, whether there's deals going on. So now let's jump into this bad boy. Alrighty, this bad boy, interestingly enough, is from Street and Still. You know, they're a Revzilla cycle gear kind of product, but I was happy I came across this bag, and I'll get into that as well, but let's get into the specifics of this bag first. So this bag is the what do they call it, the Grimmer from Street and Steel, and it is a sissy bar bag, so it's got some attachments for a sissy bar, and we'll get into those. I'll show you that in just a minute. But again, you know, this is made from that 1680D polyester stuff. It's got a rainproof cover. It's in the bottom of the bag. It's got the MOLLE attachment in the front, and it's got tons and tons of capacity. And the reason why I like this bag so much is because it is 52 liters in capacity. Now I'm going to tell you what kind of wrestling that I've done finding a bag like this that works for me. I needed a big bag. I needed a big bag that would carry camping gear, all other kinds of stuff, so I'm not strapping and looking like Beverly Hillbillies cruising around on my bike as I'm going on long rides. This guy fits so well because I'm going to show you. So I've got the Indian Scout Bobber, of course. I use the Indian Scout Bobber rear rack and a sissy bar. The width is what is important for me. This width is, so what I'm talking about width here, is almost right at 10 inches. So what that means is when I slide this bag on my sissy bar, it fits that rack perfectly. And the issue that I've had when I've been trying to find bags like this, because I really like bags like the XL7 from Builtwell. Man, I love that bag. It's a $200 bag, but it is too thick this way, and it would push me forward in my seat. So I was struggling to try and find a bag that would just fit perfectly on that rear rack, and this bag does. It is amazing how well this bag fits on the sissy bar and then on the rack. So let's dive into this bag because it has features in it that really excites me, and it makes it a lot easier for me to carry some of my important essentials, like tools. And we're going to talk about tools here in just a second. Let's look inside. So it is bright inside. You are not going to lose anything in this bag because it is so bright. Anything that contrasts is going to contrast off the wall. And it does have an inner pocket. And this inner pocket is a pretty deep pocket, but if you're going to take like an iPad or a small laptop, I think a 13-inch laptop will fit in there okay. Then, you know, perfect, it'll fit. So this bag is pretty deep. It's, like I said, it capacity total on the inside is 52 liters. So that is insane. So we're gonna zip this up a little bit. Wrestle. There we go, got it. Now, it's got two side pockets, bam, that are pretty deep, pretty good side pockets, two of them. So things you need to get to quickly, like maybe your rain gear or anything else you need to get to quickly, can get stuffed in here. And then on the front of the bag, it's got this external pocket that opens up, folds out nicely. And I've put things like a folded up hoodie, things like that, but it's got all kinds of stuff in there. It's got, you know, little pockets and whatnot in there, so it's got all kinds of storage space in here. So I'm doing this one-handed, so. Now, one of the features of this bag that just I love so much is, dun-na, that was, hold on, let's try this again. Dun-na, you got an integrated tool bag. And originally I wanted the XL7, but like I said, the XL7 doesn't fit my rear rack, and it would push way forward into my seat. So I found this, I stumbled across this, and I'm so glad I did, because this is one of the things I was looking for. I want to bring my tools, but I want to have a special tool bag, and I want to be able to access it quickly. On this last trip, all the guys brought tools, but the tools were all buried in their bag, and somebody needed zip ties. Somebody always needs something when you're out on these long trips. Something breaks, something falls off, whatever. So I was like Mr. Tool Guy. I had electrical tape, zip ties, my tools in there, sockets, my Allen keys, electrical tape, 550 cord, all that stuff was all packed in there. So anytime somebody needed something, boom, we could get to it, no problem. So that is one of the big pluses of this bag. So strapping this bag, is crazy simple. This is it. You got these 3 straps that you will weave either around or in and through your sissy bar, cinch down, and he ain't going anywhere. And it's got webbing on the back so that you can feed the strap through to kind of get it how tight and positioned the way you want it. And of course, if you want it to be even more tight, you can always throw a rock strap on and, you know, wrap a rock strap around it and tighten it down a bit more. Now, so we're going to do a little bit of pretending because I don't have my sissy bar on, and we're going to pretend that I have just strapped this to my sissy bar. That is how it sits on my sissy bar. And the other reason I like this bag is once it's packed, it maintains its form. It doesn't like fall over or anything like that. So it stands up on its own. And what I will do is I will take my Saddlemen bag, and that Saddlemen bag will strap to the top of that oh so nicely. And then what will happen is I take my XL7 bag. My XL7 bag will strap onto the back of the sissy bar bag. So it essentially looks like this, right? So I can pack everything I need for multi-days, like a week, probably even more in this configuration. And then I can, you know, adjust this configuration depending on how far I'm going and what I'm going to be doing. So we threw all that stuff off to the side over there, like the cot and the tent and all that stuff. Usually what I'll do with that stuff is it will go in this bag and it goes in the bottom. I always pack the heaviest stuff on the bottom and then lighter stuff up top. And then, you know, clothes and other stuff will kind of go up in that bag. If I'm going long enough where I need this bag, then I'll take it. But like, for example, this trip to Big Bend, which was, you know, 5 days in total, I didn't need that top bag. So that didn't come with me. But the, you know, the whole setup allows me to kind of configure this different ways depending on how I'm traveling. So, you know, that's really it. There is nothing much more to it than that. So, pretty simple setup. It fits perfectly on the bobber. Fits perfectly on my Dean Speed sissy bar. And yeah, it works pretty well. One thing that's missing from this picture is my sleeping bag. So my sleeping bag is it's a compression bag. Or it's a compression sleeping bag, so I throw it in a compression sack and cinch it down, and it is tiny. Once it's compressed, it's no bigger than my XL7, and I will just strap it to the back of my sissy bar. It ain't going nowhere, so that's the only thing you don't see in this picture. But yeah, that's really it. All right, everybody. Well, that's it. I hope it was helpful. Hopefully it was useful. And if you have any questions or any comments, throw them down there in the comments section. Let's have a conversation about this. I'm more than happy to share all of my experiences that I have and share any information that I can on how I've done this and how I've made it successful. So, hope you've all had a very Merry Christmas, and I do wish that you have a wonderful and amazing New Year. 2021 is going to be better than 2020. Let's hope. So anyway, y'all take care, be nice to one another, and peace.